Your Honor, make a motion to receive and file staff report regarding request to extend city water and sewage services to 4010 Shady Oak Drive, Davis Hales Sr., 4010 Shady Oak Drive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the motion to receive and file the staff report regarding the request to extend city water and sewage services to 4010 Shady Oak Drive.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hale was notified. I don't know if he's here tonight, and I might want to ask to see if he'd like to speak.
Here.
He is here.
Would you have a comment to make? Yes, please come forward.
Yes, I would like to clarify. I'm David Hale, not Davis.
Yes.
Hale, 4010 Shady Oak. I'm not sure of what letter you're speaking of that I was notified.
I sent a letter out. Maybe you haven't received it yet.
Okay.
We sent a letter Monday or Tuesday. So.
Okay, I have not received that unless it's in the mail today. I didn't check. So.
Okay.
That's the only thing I actually wanted to comment on at this time was correct my name on here, please.
Okay.
And when I read the letter, then I'll have to get back with you on any questions I may have.
If I could,
yeah, please.
The letter explained the report that we did present on Tuesday.
Okay.
We looked at two options. The one option was approximately $216,000, and the other option was $610,000, I think it was, to serve that property. The staff recommendation was to do nothing at this time, just because of the budget impact. So.
I didn't expect it to be this year anyway.
Yeah.
Possibly 2017.
Yeah, the difficulty that staff had was that the annexation agreement provides for you to pay a $5,000 fee, and so the city would have to recoup that project cost over 90 years, and it would be difficult for us as staff to justify that.
Right, and I'm sure there are some of the other residences along the way that have, excuse me, aging septic systems and such that will be willing to tap in if it were available, or they were told it was going to be available within a reasonable amount of time. And that's why I put the motion in. My septic system is, the leach field part is failing. And so, obviously, I would like the city services, rather than spend $15,000 to upgrade something that may be there within a year. So. All right.
Council's motion tonight will concur with staff's recommendation to do nothing. So I don't know if, Mayor, if you want to, I don't know if we need to solicit the neighborhood to see if there's more interest, or I guess I'm not sure where we go from here other than.
I mean, that would be worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, I get Mr. Hale's wanting to sell his home, and I was just looking at the fact that it's going to be at least probably 18 months to 2 years before we would ever be able to do a project out there, and I'm not sure that would benefit him or not.
The county engineer is willing to work with us and make whatever repairs I can do that would satisfy them.
Yeah, and I guess that was our recommendation, was to allow you to repair your septic tank or your field and kind of go from there. But.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so then, even with that recommendation, would there be anything to lose by soliciting the neighborhood and seeing?
I think we can do that. I'm not sure that there's much interest, but there might be. I'm more than willing to do that if you want to table this for another meeting.
Okay. This one's just a receive and file. The next one's
Dan, with those two options, either one of them, the one was considerably higher, take care of any other houses, and then do they both address, if we were to talk to the other neighbors?
Yeah, they all serve.
Both of them do.
They all serve more than him. It's just if there's not a need for that. And there was, during the annexation process, there was a real reluctance for the city to serve this area, and people did not want the city intruding on them with the service. So I was kind of following up with that theme, I guess you might say, and that We could put the sewer in the 617,000, which serves, I think it was around 34 homes, but the chances of the city recouping that in the near future would be pretty minimal.
Any other discussion on receiving and filing the staff report? All those in favor of the motion to receive and file the staff report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay.
Mr. Honor, I make a motion to concur with staff report regarding a request to extend city water and sewer services to 4010 Shady Oak Drive. David Hale, 4010 Shady Oak Drive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to concur with the staff report regarding the request to extend city water and sewage services to 4010 Shady Oak Drive. Discussion.
Do we want to see?
It's the same situation for both water and sewer? The same challenges or difficulty or?
Water would probably be easier. They can run 5.5 foot deep for the 400 feet or whatever it is. Their cost would not be as substantial, but we've not really looked at that. I guess we were just looking at sewer.
The request was for both water and sewer. So,
Yeah, the water department would have looked into that, and I don't think he has. Todd was gone this week, so.
is that something we could look at?
Yeah, sure.
Any other discussion?
Do we want them to see if there's anyone else
Table it.
in the neighborhood that's interested?
I mean, I'm more than willing, if you would like to table this, we could go back and send out a mailing to the adjacent owners along the routes and see if there's interest in hooking up and see if there's a need.
Yeah, you can do that, or, I mean, except concurring with the staff report doesn't preclude us from doing that. Still going out and doing
The
it, right?
concurrence is, the report was a recommendation to not do anything.
To not do the project.
Right.
But we could still, well, okay.
Yeah. Once again, we go back to the stance that the neighborhood took at the time of the annexation was to not serve them with sewer as a general impression from the group as we annexed them. So.
What was that, 4 years ago? 3, 4 years ago? 5?
Not more than 3, I don't think.
Maybe 2.
Maybe even 2, yeah.
I think we worked on it for about 5, but we didn't put it in.
Now, maybe Mr. Hale could answer that.
Yeah, if you have a brief comment, thanks.
Yes, I'd like to comment on what he just said about no interest. The reason was the city had wanted to charge us $43,000 to hook up. That's why there was no interest. We renegotiated with the city and came up with a price that everybody thought they could live with, which was eventually the $5,000 plus the balance over 99 years, which is fine. So it's not that there is no interest. The interest was nobody wanted to pay $43,000 to hook up. So, as I said, a lot of those septics are all aging. The wells I cannot answer, but you know what kind of condition they are in, good quality water, whatever. So that's my only comment, is that's why there was no interest, because of the price that we had to negotiate with.
Our issues though is we run into majority counts, numbers to still validate running the trunk for the service though, correct? I mean, let's say we get 5 people that are interested and they're on separate lines. We're still running into issues that we're going to have to address. At what point do you run the service and have enough? Does it warrant running the entire project if there's not enough interest? I thought we had addressed this already on this water sewer topic as far as majority. Am I mistaken on that? I mean, we got to have a valid number of people that are going to want to hook up to this to substantiate the cost for this project.
The annexation agreement did not state how many on that one. The one on the latest one did substantiate the amount requested. This one actually did not. It just said that there needed to be a request.
My apologies, thank you. That was under a whole another, I understand now, this is on the Shady Oak one. Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
the 10th Street annexation.
This was the unique one. Okay, thanks.
I just want to ask, so if we do nothing, do you need to buy a septic tank? Is that what you're going to have to buy, a new septic tank?
The leach field. I
It's
think
the
you
leach
said.
field.
Oh, okay.
What the county had said is if the city, excuse me, would run the city, the services within a reasonable amount of time, 1 to 2 years, that I would just have to make the repairs possibly just to the leach field to pass. Otherwise, if it's going to be longer than that, then I have to replace the whole septic system.
Okay.
And then it gets back to the original agreement. I don't have to if I don't want to hook up. So that's the issue.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Everybody ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to concur with with staff report regarding the request to extend city water and sewage services to 4010 Shady Oak Drive, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Yes, Your Honor, motion to receive and file a TAC report regarding establishing parking on 7th Avenue, Harold Malley, Noah's Archive, and he is at 945 7th Avenue.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to receive and file the TAC report regarding establishing parking on 7th Avenue by Harold Malley. Discussion? All those in favor of receiving and filing the report, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to concur with the TAC report regarding establishing parking on 7th Avenue, coming from a request from Harold Malley, Noah's Archive, 945 7th Avenue.
We had it,
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to
the council pack.
concur with the TAC report regarding establishing parking on 7th Avenue by Harold Malley, Noah's Archive. And just to clarify, that the recommendation was to deny the request. So,
Your Honor, I think Mr. Malley is here as well.
okay. Mr. Malley, would you like to address the council?
Harold Malley, Noah's Archive, and I live on West 9th Avenue.
Welcome.
Well, I just requested that perhaps 2 or 3 parking spots could be made available there in front of Noah's Archive. And I wrote a letter to the council and explained that I thought this was doable, but that was just from my perspective. I don't really have any questions, other than maybe the answer that I received was that it might be reconsidered or considered after the corridor project is completed. I wasn't sure what that meant. Does that mean the west roundabout, or does that mean the whole corridor?
I think the discussion on Tuesday was that once the entire 6th Avenue corridor is completed,
Sure.
which is meant to diffuse traffic off of 7th Avenue,
Right.
then the traffic would be
Yeah.
lessened on 7th Avenue. It would allow for
Sure.
more parking on 7th Avenue, but at this point, people didn't see that it was feasible.
Yeah. I understand.
Are you short on parking?
Yes.
Sure.
Well, we have some parking in back, but that's usually full. But there's usually maybe some spaces that could be found, but people, they're just hard to get to. People don't know where to park. They drive by. Most people I talk to, oh yeah, we know where Noah's Archive is, but it's inconvenient. And most people who would stop would come in only for a few minutes. And so if they had something right in front, they could stop, they could run in for their 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get what they want and out. That would make it, it would really simplify things. But people park at the square, or can we park at the chocolate shop?
Would it be
They
helpful to have a
can't,
sign
'cause
that
they don't.
says, would it be helpful to have a sign directing people parking in rear or
Yes,
something like that? Or?
that would be helpful. And we've thought about it, but haven't really taken any action that direction. But anyway, it seemed reasonable to me, but then again, I haven't done any math on the traffic, so I appreciate it being considered.
Thank you.
So,
In your letter, you talked about trucks being parked there, but when they're parked there, don't they have their hazard flashers on? And
I don't think so, but I've never gone out to see. I don't know. But they park right in front, and cars go around, and it's not, doesn't seem to be a problem. They're there for a while.
that's what I wondered, if they parked there, if they had their hazard lights on or something.
And there's also the little city lot. I know it's unimproved,
Yes.
but that's also available.
Yeah. It's usually full.
It is.
Okay. People who work in local places, usually.
That whole area is full of employees parking.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's somewhat of a problem
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's.
I had talked to Mr. Malley at an open house, and I told him we'd take a look at it and would possibly find a solution. Obviously, when we looked at it, the whole committee really felt that we couldn't do it at this time. The difference between the truck and the permanent parking is we would have to paint the permanent parking. We'd paint stalls, we'd put up signage, so it would redirect traffic all the time. Whereas a truck pulls in there, pulls his flashers on, he's there for maybe an hour or so, and then he moves on, and the lane works for the other 23 hours of the day. Totally sympathize with his need, but at this time, we really feel uncomfortable with making that change.
Sure. I understand. I appreciate it being considered.
So potentially, if you allowed parking and then the loading trucks came, then you'd be taking another lane of traffic out, so it wouldn't be real practical.
They may still fit within the 145 feet between the parking and the corner. I think they kind of tend to park closer to Zoe's there, don't they, when they're...
Both.
Okay.
They'll park right in front of us or right in front of Zoe's. Both.
I think they'd probably either take the stalls if they were empty, or they would pull up closer to Zoe's. We'd have to look at that because they're regularly, I'll put it that way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion on this?
What if there was just like a limited amount, 15-minute parking? Would that still be a problem?
We would still have to paint the stalls and sign them, and people would have to merge over and back again, even when they were empty. I suppose there would be people that would probably drive straight across them, but that would not be a very safe condition as well. So.
Like they do with the roundabout.
Okay. We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion to concur with the TAC report regarding establishing parking on 7th Avenue. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding the annexation application for properties located north of East Robbins Road and west of Albernet Road in Lynn County, Iowa. The public hearing is now open. We have a presentation.
I'm back. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kesha Billings. I'm with the City of Marion here in the Planning Department. This is a topic that has been brought up a number of times in this year, all of this year. And so I just wanted to give a brief explanation, similar to how I've done before, of kind of where we are at this point and going forward. And so what we have tonight for the public hearing involves 80-20 annexation, of which we refer to that 80% of the land area proposed to be annexed in is consenting, and no more than 20% of the non-consenting area is included in that petition, and this gets forwarded on to the state. It's considered a voluntary petition with non-consenting owners. And so what I have here is small location map that basically indicates that, you know, this is northwest, West Marion here. And so you have the intersection of East Robbins Road and Alburnett Road, and here's the roundabout at Alburnett Road and Tower Terrace. And so there's some ag property and then 15 single-family homes just north of East Robbins Road. And so the area in green is considered consenting. We have 2 applications. One application covers this area, this 20 acres and 40 acres approximately, and then 1 single-family property in here, and then the blue hashed area is considered non-consenting property owners. The yellow area is considered all of the right-of-way that is indicated in the application as well. That's not included in the 80-20 calculation, but it is considered to be included in the application. Going forward, so should this be approved by the City Council at tonight's public hearing, it will be forwarded on to the City Development Board. It's a state board. This approval would most likely get forwarded on. It would be on their August agenda. They hold meetings every month, and so it does take some time to go over that. Following, if they would approve it in August, then it would get fully approved mid-September, and it's at that time that this area could potentially be in the City of Marion, and then the City Council could act on any development interests or any rezonings at that time. Until that time, basically the City Council can't do anything to vote on this at all. And so tonight is just about the annexation application, whether to approve or deny that. In your staff reports, you did receive approximately a 5-page resolution approving this. This specifies some of the terms that we have indicated to the residents of the neighborhood, the Ivy Acres neighborhood, that indicates transition on taxes, what happens, you know, when they desire to have sewer. Some of the indications that council would see coming down the road. Water is the same. Talks about zoning of the property once it is annexed, some intent of the council, and future uses of this property. Any questions of staff? Okay, thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll take the public comments on this. Can I, just by show of hands, how many people plan to address the council on this? 1? Okay, so anyone here to speak in favor of this annexation? Okay, seeing none. Anyone here to speak against the annexation? Ma'am? Okay. Please state your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Jan Heron. I live in south of Fairfax right now, but hopefully tomorrow I'm going to close on the house 3100 Elshire, which is on the corner there. You know, whether I'm in favor or opposed, I've learned a lot tonight. Some of the things I wonder, though, I don't know what the purpose of the big annexation. Obviously, there's a larger plan. I did not get the data that you spoke of that went to the residents on taxation and sewer and water. So is that something that I could get a copy of tonight, perhaps?
Of course.
Secondly.
Kesha? I was looking for you.
I'll hand over the 5-page
Okay.
resolution.
Maybe I should sit down and come back. Well, there's nobody else, so I'll just keep going. Clearly, annexing this property doesn't really fall under your future land use plan guidelines as primary annexation property. And I don't know the purpose of this outer land. Can somebody tell me? What's the big plan for this?
I would consider this one of the primary annexation areas. The city boundary right here is all in gray, and so this area in here is completely surrounded by city property, city utilities, basically water, sewer, everything.
Okay.
And under state code, the city cannot have an island that's county within the city. So in order for the city to continue growing in its particular direction, property has to be annexed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can't grow anymore. We cannot grow around an area.
Understand.
So
and that makes
that's
sense.
by code, yeah.
But what I'm pointing out is, oh, sure.
Yep, if I could use that exhibit to show the council. And she makes a very good point. So this is from our comprehensive land use plan. We adopted in 2008. And so this does show she's absolutely correct. There are, the areas in reddish orange are identified to be primary areas for development. Since that time, the city has annexed in this area. We've been developing the MEC. We've annexed in and are developing areas of Irish Drive, and so this area right there at the tip of my pen. And so there are some areas. So this is a 2008 map, and so some of those areas have been developed since then. And so I think at this time we've been moving. We've had an annexation up in this area. We've had annexation development in this area. So that is something that you're absolutely correct. It was identified as a secondary because of the date of our comprehensive plan. Usually we update those every 10 years. We're getting to the point of maybe it's time to update that, take a fresh look at where our new primary areas are.
Okay. Sorry. Then I think the material you gave me is going to answer some of my questions about sewer and water and all. I hope that you're not going to tell me it's going to cost $43,000 to get my sewer connected.
Sewer and water?
Yes.
We have not provided any recent estimates for service out in this area. We did one previously a few years back, but we have not done that. We've negotiated with the group out there, basically saying that at the time of the need for the sewer and water, we would negotiate and work at the most effective and efficient way to provide that. Those costs would be the costs of the owners at the time. So estimating that time now for something that may not happen for 10 or 20 years kind of is irrelevant, I guess.
We can see from Mr. Hale that that if the city is annexed property, I assume he's an annexed property in Marion. If you don't have the means to support, I'm sorry, I should rephrase that. If it's not economically efficient to provide services to people in that area, why would you want to annex more property where you're going to have the same issue of cost and property owners having to pay large amounts to get connected? My initial thought was, great, I could look for city water and sewer, but
your ability to use your septic and well continues until such time, I see that document, until such time as they are considered by the county health as inoperative.
Right.
We would not force sewer on you until that time.
Okay.
At that time, you would have probably a $20,000 commitment towards a new septic and a new well, maybe even $30,000. That money would be put towards your sewer and water that the city would provide. So it kind of balances out in cost and the fact that you would be upgrading to city services at that time.
But that's only if everybody else's sewer fails at the same time to cover it?
No. If the city would commit, if there was a growing need for it out there, the city would come out and do a project and put it in. At that time, it would sit until such time that you would need it. the question we had with the other project was that there's not a perceived need of it, and the city investment would sit out there for a long period of time without recouping those costs.
Do you know how old the properties out there at Shady Oak, how old are they?
They're approximately the same, 70.
About the same. Okay, well, I'm not a city planner, but to me it looks
Me either.
like the same problem. Not problem, but the same circumstance may hit me after I pay a large amount of money for a home, and if my septic fails in a year or two, then I will be replacing the septic, which I had planned to do, but I didn't plan to replace the septic and pay city taxes. So how?
I actually live in the same situation. I have sewer and water out in front of my house. I have a septic tank and was just recently annexed, so I sympathize with you.
I'd be happy not
but,
to have to hook up.
But I look at it as a long-term investment in the fact that if I can keep my well and my septic going along, I continue to use that until I can't anymore. And at that point, whether you're in the city or not, you have that investment, that next investment in that new septic tank and new well. When you come into city, you have options other than that.
Okay. So there's been no dollar amount decided on city water and sewer. And I guess my question also would be is the 80% consenting, are they planning to develop in such a way that city water and sewer would be coming through so that our connection would be very inexpensive?
I happen to have a map.
You're fantastic.
Conveniently. This is something, unfortunately, coming in May, June. I get that. It's all new. This is something that we have previously sent to all of the city council members with an email kind of explaining how the sewer and water connection would work. And so what I've done is I've identified sewer connections all along the adjacent developments. Unfortunately, because of either the capacity of some of the sewers or because of the depth of the service, those lines, although they may look close, are not ideal for servicing anybody in this neighborhood. And so what we've identified is the sewer along Kettering, so the north of the subdivision, was sized appropriately and is the appropriate depth to serve this area. So the city did have foresight to think of eventual connections for the neighborhood. And so should this development occur to the north of you, it's our understanding that that's wished to happen, is that the developer of this property, so the property to the north, would be required to extend a sewer and water line to the end, so basically to its property lines.
Okay.
For eventual connection to the neighborhood. And what makes this neighborhood different from Mr. Hale's property is that the sewer connection would be right at the edge, whereas in Mr. Hale's instance, he's approximately a quarter mile away from where he could be serviced, or, I suppose if he was serviced
I think
two options, yeah.
So that's something that in the resolution it talks about the most effective and efficient way. In this case, it would be coming from here, and how much that cost is. That'd be something at the time that you would need service to determine how far the extent of those services.
Okay.
I think we need to stick with the public hearing now. So, I understand that you have a lot of questions, but maybe those can be answered in a meeting with Kesha. But if you do have any comments to the council in terms of whether or not, the council should approve this annexation application.
Okay.
We'll take those at this time.
So my last comment, I guess, is based upon future land use map shows the 80% as a attached single-family homes area. And so if it is not planned to be attached single-family homes, then I am against it, because then I don't know what it is. Do we have a future zoning plan?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Simple question.
The council received and filed and referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So as a legal owner, once that all takes place, you will get notifications for any zoning or land use map amendments to the area to the north of this.
Oh, so that we don't know that until it happens.
After the public hearing, I would be more than happy to step
Okay.
outside and explain everything.
Then I'm against it because I don't know what's going in up there. And if this is single-family housing down here where we are, and out here, at a minimum, I would expect transitional housing before any type of larger, almost commercial type apartment rental complex or senior living area would go in. So I'm going to speak against it unless we understand that there's transitional housing and it wouldn't be a big impact to the properties at IVR. Okay, thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that I came in without knowing all this.
Thank you.
Did I sign tomorrow? I'm safe, I hope.
Thank you. Welcome to Marion.
Thank you.
Not
All right,
yet.
thanks.
She's hoping.
Anyone else who would speak against the annexation petition? Okay. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilwoman Edsel?
Okay, this is resolution number 25380, approving annexation application for properties located north of East Robbins Road, west of Alburnett Road, Inland County, Iowa. Douglas S. Downing, EAK Farms, LLC, along with non-consenting owners Powell, Kelly, Hilsenbeck, Jones, Tupker, Bodensteiner, Ruan, Centellia, Seifer, Bunny, Spicer, Lefebvre, Holtz, Lair, Weber, and including all adjacent right-of-way.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25380, approving the annexation application for the properties located north of East Robbins Road and west of Alburnett Road. Discussion. Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No?
We have one no. Motion passes.
The only reason I'd like her to be able to reconcile the whole thing before she understands that she probably may want to sell the property and get the hell out.
At this time, we have a public hearing regarding a request to amend the future land use map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan and rezoning of property from C3 General Commercial to R6 High Density Multiple Family for a property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. The public hearing is now open. We heard about this on Tuesday, but do you want to just give a very, very brief recap?
There are two items on the agenda related to this public hearing. One is the amendment to the future land use map of the city's comprehensive plan, and then the other is the rezoning of property for multifamily development off of Highway 13. The location of the property is south of 29th Avenue and west of Highway 13, north of Prairie Ridge Ave and east of Prairie Hill Drive. If you drive out there today, I think the council and most of the residents that are here, if they are in the neighborhood and were notified, understand that there's a number of multifamily dwellings in this vicinity currently constructed with townhomes facing Prairie Hill or Prairie Ridge Avenue that have been developed. That property is currently zoned R5 and R6. I'm sorry. Currently zoned R6. And as such is being developed with multifamily homes. The property to the north and along Prairie Hill to 29th Avenue, currently zoned commercial. There is a proposal to put a mixed-use commercial building on the corner. Between the two buildings, though, the owners of the property are requesting to proceed with continuing the apartment complexes north to meet the commercial development, mixed-use development on the north. So essentially, there's two things that need to occur tonight. That's the amendment to the future land use map, allowing for residential uses opposed to commercial uses in the area that's hatched. And then the rezoning request before us is to go from the commercial to the R6 zoning district classification.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who's here to speak for this request to amend the future land use map? Anyone here to speak against it? Yes. Please come forward. Sir, you can come forward too, and then when she's finished, you can.
Hello.
Hi, please state your name and address.
Yep. My name is Melissa Walker. I reside at 2700 50th Street in Marion. And I am here to speak against this proposed plan. I live in this neighborhood in the yellow here, and when we bought the house, it was one of the things that we went in knowing was that there was going to be commercial property there, which was very appealing to us because we want to be in a walkable neighborhood. We want to be able to walk somewhere to eat, to go get a drink, to just family-friendly businesses. And so that was part of our decision to move to this area because knowing that that was something that might be a little ways down the road, but that it was coming. And we don't, because of the highways, and we're kind of boxed into walkable areas. And so I would really like to encourage the council to consider keeping this as commercial property. I think that there is a huge use and need for that in the northeast part of Marion. We have some huge businesses that are coming up that would very much support these businesses. The First United Methodist Church, which I'm a member of, will be breaking ground this year, just on the other side of 29th there, and is a very large church with a high number of members, and will have regular traffic throughout the week, evenings, and weekends that would support those businesses, as well as the ballpark that's going to be right there. And we'll need family-friendly businesses to be able to meet those needs. We just feel like that's a great use of this property and going to really fit the needs of the neighborhood. Another concern that I have is the current traffic situation of the neighborhood, and that the timeline of rezoning this to high-density housing is a concern because none of the streets go through to any of the other streets. And so I would want to make sure that if this does go through, regardless of how it's developed, whether it's developed for commercial or developed for high-density residential, there's going to be a need for traffic controls to happen at the same time. And it sounds as if this is proposed to be done sooner than the roads are planned to be completed and going through. And then the last, speaking as a mother, I'm just concerned about the impact on Lynn Grove Elementary. They're already over capacity. My husband is a teacher there, and they're very concerned about what that's going to look like if within 6 months they've got another they're looking at, between these two different areas, 100 additional units going in. There's not room at the school for this, and so I just feel like it's not in the best interest of the kids, not something that the neighborhood is really interested in seeing in that area. Not that we're against multi-unit housing, it's just this area was really very appealing for the neighborhood for the reasons I specified. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Jeff Lamka, I live at 2730 50th Street. I'll echo a lot of the same comments. We moved here about six years ago, and again, the appeal for us was this was a nice neighborhood that, it was close to a couple parks, and there was supposed to be a park that was going to be developed in back of us, and with this changing to the high density, and now 29th is going to be, is going to be extended through. I have a big concern about the traffic. Already the intersection between 50th and then 7th Avenue or 151 right there is already fairly congested at times, especially as people come home from work. You add all this additional traffic as 29th has to go all the way through now, or 50th goes through to 29th. That's going to be a significant amount of traffic that's going to the school and then also going all the way through. So I would assume that there's likely going to have to be some kind of a stoplight or something on the 7th and 50th intersection. The other thing I kind of wonder and urge you to kind of consider is, again, we have the church that'll be going in there. You have this new ballpark that's going to be here. This area is kind of a very high visible main area for a lot of traffic that comes through. When this went to the commission earlier, that they were saying there's not a lot of need for commercial. Well, there's nothing around this area. I mean, there's a gas station, a McDonald's, and a Walmart. And then it's a neighborhood that's essentially going to now be surrounded by a bunch of apartments or townhomes. So you have all these, if you have this new ballpark, this new church, you have this high visibility, high traffic area you're coming into Marion, but all you see are a bunch of apartments along Highway 13, and then a Walmart and a bunch of gas stations. I just think there's an opportunity here to kind of develop this area to be, here's welcome to Marion, versus just throwing in more apartments, more townhomes into an area. And then again, as a parent of 2 young children that go to Lane Grove, I mean, you're adding an additional 48 to what I think is already another 48 now. So yeah, roughly 100 new units. How many more kids are you shoving into this school that's already, as Melissa had said, is already at capacity and beyond? So I have a lot of concerns when a lot of kids in the neighborhood, the traffic, the schools, and then you're just missing out on an opportunity for putting a face on a high visibility area. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25381, approving amendment to the future land use map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan from corridor commercial to multifamily for property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. Platinum Development LLC request.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25381, approving the amendment to the future land use map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan for the property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue, Platinum Development LLC. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Was this going to be mixed use? I don't know why.
I think the other commercial building
The
was...
corner property that's currently zoned commercial will be mixed use. So it's a 3-story building proposed at this time. It's a 3-story building with the bottom floor being commercial.
So there will be some commercial.
Yeah. The concept is that there would be everything we've seen thus far has showed the commercial on the first floor, and they're looking, they could probably speak to it better than I, but to have some neighborhood type commercial uses in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, the question I have is I want to make sure I'm clear because I'm really torn on this one. The outline of the multi-use, do we know for sure we know what's going in there?
Yes, yep, correct.
It's two
yeah.
Two, okay. And I remember seeing it was 2 buildings, correct?
There's
multifamily.
4. Got it.
Multifamily or the multi-use to the north?
No, the multifamily.
Yep. And it looks very similar to the 4 that are existing. I believe it's 4 up there that are out there currently. Yep.
Can you explain why we are doing a rezoning when the current zoning already accommodates what they're proposed to build there?
The current zoning allows for mixed use, and I think what we're proposing is a multifamily.
But isn't the current zone, the category that's under, already allow the multifamily?
It allows mixed use, which includes residential above commercial.
So even if we didn't change this, they could still build?
No, they could not do purely mixed use, or purely multifamily. We amended the code to allow, last year I believe, to allow residential units above commercial, so that we'd get the mixed use style of development we would desire to have in commercial districts. And that's what the developer's proposing on the corner. In the C3 district, it does not provide the opportunity for multifamily. units.
And before they built to the south of that, was it rezoned, or was it zoned the mixed-use commercial? Did it get changed to do
Just right here?
Yes,
the R5?
where it's currently the apartments.
For this project, no. The future land use map has identified this as commercial. And then the zoning is the R6. So to extend, they have to amend the comprehensive plan to provide for the zoning, to provide for the multifamily. I don't know if I got a little thrown off there.
So
say that again.
The question?
Yes.
So where they currently have where they already built the apartments?
Yes.
On the corner of Prairie Hill and,
Prairie Ridge.
Prairie Ridge, yes. Did council rezone it for them to build there?
I don't believe we had to go through a rezone. I think that property's been zoned R6 for a long, that's been R6, I think, from when the neighborhood was platted and developed. When Eldon Millen originally owned that.
Above
correct.
Was commercial.
It was R6 and commercial. Correct. So it's basically extending the R6 into the area that was commercial. One of the things that staff has looked at as this property is developed, there's no access to Highway 13 from that property. It would all be on Prairie Ridge or Prairie Hill Drive. The way that property is developed, there's a number of single-family residential units. Obviously, it's a neighborhood on that side. Any access is going to be up and down that drive between Prairie Ridge and 29th. So that would be the access for that. Generally speaking, I know that the folks that have spoke and have voiced a desire for the commercial understand completely. I would agree with them that there is a desire for commercial out in this area. My concern is that when you start talking about neighborhood commercial and family-friendly commercial, that is not a product of zoning. The zoning ordinance does not provide for quote-unquote family-friendly commercial. Commercial is commercial in the eyes of the zoning code. I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. That's just how it exists in our current code. In this situation, fronting a 4-lane highway, I think it's going to be desirable for a higher intensity commercial use than the neighborhood may want to see. It's just my perception. Deal with a lot of real estate and understand land use, and I see what the real estate market kind of brings. If you go further down, what you have is a Culver's on the highway, but it's got direct corner access. So I do believe that the intensity of the development, if it were to proceed with commercial, would be higher. I may be wrong. It may be someone coming in and building a family-friendly business, but with a 4-lane
what could
highway,
go there under C3?
I'm sorry?
Under C3, what are the types of?
The biggest category is general retail. So any retail development business, fast food,
tattoo parlor,
Dollar.
yeah, I mean it's really
pub shop.
it's everything from a Quick Trip to a Dollar General to high intensity retail development. So anything you can see along a highway or a corridor. If it was C1, that would be a little bit different, where you have a neighborhood commercial node, which limits some of those retail uses and sizes. But a piece this large with no direct access, if it is a high user, it's going to bring traffic through the neighborhood for the commercial use of it.
Because that's going to connect all the way into 29th to the north.
Correct. And the development is, when the building on the corner goes up, we're requiring the next plat to come together as a whole so that the access is provided. There is a lot of traffic that has to go south now because they have no outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why the owner doesn't want to develop that as commercial? I mean, just out of curiosity.
He's here. I think you could probably ask them about that. I don't want to speculate necessarily. I just probably shouldn't speculate on it, but it's a ways down off of 29th, and it's stuck between two properties. The desirability of retail is to be on the corner. I think it's probably in the best interest to see the mixed-use building going on the corner, because all you're going to get in that building are going to be limited hours of operations type businesses, because you got residential above. The user aren't going to want to place inside that something that's going to be of intense use if you have a people living above it. So a standalone on this site, I mean, you could get a strip mall, you could get a coffee shop, which would be great, but you could get a McDonald's. I mean, the variety is huge with the C3.
And planning and zoning?
Planning and zoning supported this, correct.
What about going from C3 to R6? I think they had concerns of more traffic. Would that be the case, or?
It's really hard to tell depending on what the commercial business would be, if it would develop commercially.
Has the developer at all been approached by the folks that live in the neighborhood about the zoning on it?
I don't know. The developer's in the audience if you want to ask them.
Well, I wouldn't mind. I'm sure that
Mark Maurer with Platinum Development. And I'm sorry, the question.
did the people who are against the R6, did they come to you and say, gee, it'd be nice if we had some neighborhood stores, and the concern about the number of children involved, and have you been approached by them at all?
I've talked to a couple of them, is about it. We had a P&Z meeting where there was quite a few of them, 7 of them, I think, attended. They gave their side. I spoke my end of it. But face-to-face with a group of them, no.
Can you see their point?
To a point, I can. Mm-hmm. I understand the fact that they're looking for some family-friendly businesses out there, but that isn't necessarily what could go out there. I could have the building that we're proposing with the multi-use is 6 lower units of retail. I could have 6 insurance agents out there. That does nothing for the neighborhood. 6 dentists, whatever the case may be. I've contacted probably 30 different businesses. Most of them I'm looking for is something that is going to be something to serve the neighborhood. So I've contacted some eateries, some coffee shops, things like this, something I think will complement the neighborhood. Most of them have gotten the plans for the building. There's a couple of them that show interest, but until the building gets underway, I don't think I'll see anybody.
They don't want to make a commitment. No, I understand from your viewpoint insofar as being the developer, but I also understand the neighbors' viewpoint too, because there are so many places. I mean, there used to be neighborhood schools, for crying out loud, and everybody gets bused now. And it's like there are these vast areas of living dwellings, and there's not a lot of...
It's kind of a coin toss. We tried to put a little area on 10th Street where now resides a 12-plex.
Yeah.
I got the opposite fight from them at that point. Nobody wanted that in their backyard.
Yeah.
So now I'm coming to a point, especially with this one, with the site, the way it's laid out, I would have the capabilities now. I could probably put 4 mixed-use buildings on there. My problem I'm running into is, unlike Field of Dreams, if I build it doesn't mean they're coming. I may have this nice building here with 6 empty retail slots sitting on that for a year or so. So what we're doing is trying to complement that from our company's end with residential units, which right now, just about as fast as we can put a building up, we're filling them. We have on the site right now, we're about 12 shy of filling it, and there's only 10 children on that entire site. Out of the 51 units, there's only 10 children. So I've gotten the argument also about I'm overcrowding the schools doing this. I'm not sure if out of 51 units with 10 children in it, that's anything different than, I couldn't find any data for it, but I don't know if that's anything different from any other neighborhood in Marion. So I can see arguments all kinds of ways. I've discussed the traffic issue with some of the people. That's not an argument, I don't think, from me, because no matter what I put out there, there's going to be traffic. There may be more traffic with commercial than there would be residential.
Well, it's just that, I remember when there were like neighborhood grocery stores.
Oh, sure.
And you could walk or ride your bike to the store to pick up, whatever. But now, you can't do that.
We were in discussion with a small grocery store for 10th Street, but we got so much opposition from the condominiums behind where we built on 10th Street that the council voted it down for changing it to commercial at that point.
Yeah.
So again,
I know.
I'm kind of torn. Either which way I go, I'm not pleasing everybody. So it's a matter of pleasing my boss at that point.
Perfect world, if you could.
Yeah, perfect world, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have
Any further discussion?
questions for me? Thank you.
Thanks. Everybody ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25381, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No?
No.
We have 2 noes
I abstain.
and 1 abstention. 2 noes, 1 abstention. 4 in favor. And Sue, on number 2, I intended to abstain on that one. I don't think I verbalized it. Creative, yes, as I have on all the other votes on that one.
Did it pass?
So did this pass? This?
Oh, it did.
Okay. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move on ordinance number 16-07, approving the rezoning from C3 general commercial to R6 high density multiple family for property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. Initial consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-07, approving the rezoning from C3 general commercial to R6 high density multiple family for property located west of Highway 13 and south of 29th Avenue. Discussion?
Well, this is just the initial consideration, so there's 2 more readings after this,
So, I mean, the people that voted no, I'd like to hear your.
My concern.
I think when you vote no, you should give some reasoning so that we all know.
My concern is as we're moving forward with the city, the layout, the way we're laying out our parks, our streets, our sidewalks, we've heard over and over and over that we are not friendly to the point where people have the access to these services within walking distance. I disagree that, I'm thinking we could utilize that space in a better fashion by putting in the small drugstores, the convenience stores, if you will. We've got them popping up all over, whether it's a Walgreens, a Hy-Vee drug, whatever. It's a multi-retail that gives those people that opportunity to get whatever produce they need, whatever dairy they need, the functioning things that we deal with on a day-to-day. That's prime real estate out there on interstate and on Highway 13. I just don't think we're going down the right road here by throwing in another another complexes of this nature. I think we need to complement that neighborhood a little bit and give it what it's asking for. We hear it over and over. Where are these trails leading to? Where are these sidewalks leading to? Talk about congestion. 50 units, there's 100 cars. 2 cars for every unit that's going to be there. That is going to create some extra traffic flows. There's going to be issues, and I understand there's traffic flows for retail. They're going to be in and out. Like Tom said, you're not dealing with a a high-volume traffic deal, we're probably going to be looking at something that is going to be smaller scale, whether it's the neighborhood, video store. Somebody's going to go out there with an anchor store and retail it out. Build it and they will come is I'm so tired of hearing that, because we've got a lot of retail space that's sitting empty right now. But there's a lot of people looking. There's a lot of people watching this area out there, and I think it's just a matter of time before somebody wants to go in and invest. They're waiting to see what's going on around it.
Okay, now why could not it be zoned as a, what is it, where it's a planned use or
Planned development?
I'm sorry?
Planned development?
Planned development, that's what I want. So that basically, initially, it could go in with the idea of it being commercial, but if it doesn't go commercial, then it could go residential.
Generally, a planned development district is based on a concept developed and brought forward by the owner of the property. And then we sit down and walk through the proposal, kind of negotiate the site plan, just ensuring that it kind of works within the neighborhood and the context of it.
But, look at it from the viewpoint of doing a commercial type thing, first floor, but then after, and come up with a specified time that if it doesn't, nobody develops commercially, then it could go residential.
Well, I think there's one thing that we're sitting here with is that the property in the corner is zoned commercial. So, that is already commercial, and what they're proposing up there is allowable. So the corner piece with the mixed unit, there's really, outside of building permits, they could go out and build that tomorrow. So really it's the question of the property between the mixed-use building to the north and the apartments to the south. So that's really what we're talking about this evening. I fully understand the desire for that concept of the neighborhood commercial districts. We do try to accommodate that. And we're building some design standards into our code for that. We're just dealing with the proposal that we have on the table right now in this situation.
In the mixed-use commercial building, I think he said was 12 units?
I believe so.
6? I'm sorry, 6? 6 retail.
This site has the capability with that building.
Could I have you come to the mic, please?
Sure.
While he's walking up here, I'll just say, too, that we don't know what would go in there. Because like he said, it could be 6 insurance agents. It could be a tattoo parlor. It could be something they don't want in the neighborhood.
What happened last time?
Yeah, and the fact that you want something like that, like you were saying, I think that goes, Tom, what's that called? The philabilic or what's that?
Biophilic.
Biophilic, yes. Design that you're kind of looking into. I think that is the wave of the future, but it's not here yet.
Tom,
unfortunately.
in your opinion, is this a good candidate for a planned unit development?
Well,
it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah.
Generally that comes when there's zoning not in place that accommodates what's being proposed. Granted, we're not looking at something that, there's clearly a rezoning request before us. But to bring forward a planned development, I don't know that we would get very far. They have a product that they build and they're wanting to build it here. That doesn't mean that the city can't say, hey, guess what, we're not going to do that. There's in a planned unit development situation. I do think that it would be tough to, if you don't rezone it, it goes commercial and stays commercial. I guess that's what I would say. I don't think the planned unit development would come into play unless there was a commercial development being proposed and there was a desire for the council to see some specific units built consistent with the neighborhood in that rezoning situation to as a commercial use. Or if they brought back a different multifamily development proposal. But if we said you got to go plan development, I think this would be what it is. I mean, they would submit this, and then we'd sit down and talk about how that should change. And the council may just decide, yeah, we want to see it commercial, forever.
I feel like we're at a crossroad of flipping a quarter here. Of, are we going to pull the lever on the gamble? Because you're exactly right. You can't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in a perfect world, if I had the money, that'd be an anchor store and a hot place in the next 2 to 3 years because of its location. You got Tower Terrace to the north. You got the Ball Diamonds come to the north. You got the church coming into the north. And you got that corridor that will be somewhat of a very high traffic area right there. It's going to be prime, but we're flipping the quarter.
That's what we're hoping for also.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, I understand there's a need. I don't know what the comprehensive plan is showing as far as a need for rental units. I'm torn on it. I'm just going to be honest. I'm on the fence.
We're seeing a need for it because as fast as we're building them, we're filling them.
Right, I respect that. You wouldn't be building it if there wasn't a need because you're in business and you're not going to build it to let it sit there vacant. So I totally respect that.
Which could be the possibility with the retail end of this. City suggestion is that we had this building in line probably with the garages back here. City suggestion is that we move it close here for the walkability standpoint of it. With that being done, that opens up this green space to put another building very similar to this if the need arises. So we're not saying, no, we're not building any more commercial space. We're going to put this one up and see how it goes.
What was the question?
But
what was the question for him? Did
you have a question for him that he came back up?
No,
okay.
Sorry. No, I'm questioned out.
I'll just grab a seat here real quick.
Okay. Any other?
Oh, it was six retail units.
Pardon?
6 retail units was the question.
6 retail units. They're about 1,400 square foot apiece. What we're really hoping for is the end unit, which is going to be the south one here, because we've opened up so much green spaces. We are hoping for a restaurant here, that we have the capabilities of moving it to an outside eating space. With a restaurant going in there, we're hoping that they don't want 1,400. They're looking more at closer to 5,000 square foot. Again, then we're hoping for an anchor like that. Then the other ones should follow.
How many?
It's a gamble from our end then.
Mm-hmm. How many apartments above?
There's going to be 20, 10 per floor. Out of the 10 per floor, there's 9 2-bedrooms and then a single bedroom unit.
But now, there's no way that corner is going to change to all residential. It will remain.
This building?
Yeah, it'll remain.
No, this building is, Barry wants that building there.
Okay.
And I know something came up in planning and development about limiting our density with these 4. And we do not have a problem with that. If we leave it commercial, we have the capability of putting in a bunch of mixed-use buildings here, which gives me my residential numbers higher than what they are right now. So by me putting in the 4 12-plexes, it reduces the density on the site, which is hopefully cutting down on what the neighborhood is after. And again, helping us.
Well, as long as it's dedicated to the commercial, which will give you the walkable areas to.
As long as we can put the proper people in there.
Yeah, right.
But again,
not dentists, please not.
Okay. Again, it could be a tattoo parlor comes out there, and that's not ultimately what we're after either. But if somebody's got the money there and they're going to sign a 10-year lease on us, it's going to be hard for us to turn down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Ready to vote.
All those in favor of ordinance number 16-07, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
And I abstain.
Okay, so 2 noes, 1 abstention. Ready?
Yes. Your Honor, I move resolution number 25382 approving plat of survey 2071 for property located at 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue, Marion, Iowa, Emerson Mattress Incorporated and Genesis Equities LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25382, approving the plat of survey 2071 for property located at 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue, Marion. Discussion. And Tom,
I'm sorry.
This is for the
Lebanon mattress.
Approving the plat of survey for that property.
Correct. There's two plats of surveys on the agenda tonight, this one and another one. They're really to kind of clean up the boundaries of the property. At this point, all this does is create the parcels for a land transaction. So there's no swapping of ground, no dedication of anything. So at this point, it's just creating the parcels that at a future date could be included in a development agreement approved by the council if so desired.
A development agreement with whom?
The
Emerson?
owner, I believe it'd be with the owner of the Russ Miller, or the legal entity that owns the Lebanon building that's going up. Sorry.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25382 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Councilman Draper?
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution 25,383, approving plat and survey 2042 for property located adjacent to south and south of 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25383, approving the plat of survey 2042 for property located adjacent and south of 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue. Discussion.
Did I, maybe I read it wrong, but that piece of property, which is like 0.16 of an acre or whatever, is going to be given to somebody? What?
The concept, as was presented when the Lebanon project was discussed, is that there's 8 foot of ground off the front of that property that the city needs for right-of-way. And there'll be that parcel at the back. There'd be land values established, and then a land exchange occurs. It'll all be part of the development agreement.
Well, Tim Mooney's name came up. I don't know what that was.
He owned the ground. He may still own the ground. I'm not sure where the ground transfer is or will occur, but the owner of the business in this building out there is Russ Miller, and the owner of the property that sold the ground to Russ Miller is Tim Mooney.
Well, now, isn't that the tail and like the railroad, and then the land that was adjacent to where the railroad was going to revert back to the original owners?
That's correct. The original owner is Tim Mooney. But
He bought the railroad land?
Oh, no, there's no reversion on the railroad right away. We bought that. The city owns the former railroad property.
Right, but I thought it was that if the land abutted, that instead of, well, that it would revert back to the original owners.
No, that's not correct.
Huh. Okay.
No, what we've talked about with developers is that as they develop along the corridor, that we would want to see the railroad right-of-way return to development state and not be off the tax rolls. So as a part of redevelopment, we enter into agreements and within the development of the property try to come to some conclusions on how that property can be transferred, whether it's cash exchange, whether it's development agreements. As I've talked about in the past, these properties have a number of environmental issues that lead to them sitting. I mean, this property's been sitting for how many years? The former Sinclair station that was there was purchased by somebody, and they got into the property, they found 7 underground storage tanks on it. Substantial issues with the property, cleanup. There's plumes on the site where you have to build in special infrastructure to even provide sewer and water. So as you can understand as a developer, you're not going to want to buy that to develop the property. Well, now there's become a desire for these properties because of what's happening along the corridor and the investment that's being made on behalf of the city, and the future planning down here is really painting this as a nice area to be. But there's got to be some accommodations made for this type of infrastructure that's being, and the value of the ground to do that. So we work out agreements to kind of offset the cost. Someone could take the Levita project and go put it on a greenfield site, former pasture ground, no environmental contamination, buy it per square footage, sewer and water is available, boom, it's good to go. Here we're trying to work with the developers to offset some of that environmental issue, the demo cost, environmental cleanup costs to accommodate that. So as we do that, we're going to evaluate the projects. We may trade ground for development, and so instead of a TIF development agreement, we may provide some incentive, such as the ground. Depending on the cost to clean up, there will be analysis. Maybe the ground's being provided as an offset to the cost of the cleanup. So, yeah, that's why I'm saying right now we're just creating the parcel. The development agreement Lon is handling, and that'll be brought forward. I think there's a public hearing being, urban renewal plan amendments being proposed in the future as soon as some of that legislation gets figured out. So,
thank you.
Anyway, we just want to get the project, the land pieces legally defined at this point.
Thank you.
So.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25383 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25,384, approving purchase agreement with James E. Kleeman and Janice A. Asgard regarding the property located at 3490 Indian Creek Road, Marion, Iowa, in the amount of $275,600 and providing payment number 1 in the amount of $209,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25384, approving the purchase agreement with James E. Kleeman and Janice A. Asgard. Discussion?
Of course. In looking at this purchase agreement, it states that on the property there is a single-family house and a detached garage. Are those occupied at the present time?
One is occupied, one is not. There's two properties. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is this the usual cost of moving these people out? Is that going to be added, or are they just going to leave?
We discussed this property a few months back, and we brought forward the proposal of the owners was to go with a straight purchase of 130% of the appraised value, if you recall, in lieu of the 6B relocation act. So we're needing the property for the Tower Terrace Road right-of-way. As you can see here, there's two properties. Tower Terrace Road goes right across the north side of them. This was discussed at length, and we did it. I don't have it in front of me, but the staff did an analysis to determine what it would cost to relocate them and provide the assistance. And there was like I think an 8,000 to 10,000 discrepancy between one and the other. And I think the 130% was a little better deal for them, but we were getting the property, and I can assure you that the time we spend on managing those relocation assistance is substantial. This one we have handled with little assistance from our consultants, Universal Field Services, handled by staff and corporate counsel. So Ann has been working with us on this property, and we're trying to work with the owners to get them in a good place where they can relocate on their own. So what we're looking at doing is closing on the properties. And by the way, council directed us upon conclusion of that initial discussion to proceed with the purchase agreement. So this has been done consistent with what was presented just a couple months ago. I can't recall the date right now.
I just don't want there to be a surprise all of a sudden when they come back and say, oh, well, you moved so-and-so and paid for all their expenses. I want the same thing.
No. we're working outside of that. They've signed the
Do you
appropriate.
have it signed?
We have the appropriate waivers, and the signed purchase agreements are
Thank you very much.
with Beth, I bet, right now. Yes. The one thing I will just point out is that, so we're closing on the property next Friday. We're going to write a check then. They're going to be in the house. They're going to cover their own insurance and everything associated with it. And then we're going to make a final payment to them, I believe, and I just had it up here.
Yeah, it's
in the fall, October, I think, will be the second payment.
Okay.
And really, one of the provisions for this, and just so the council's aware of why we're doing that, if we weren't providing some cash up front when they move, they'd have to get a loan, realizing that they would get all this cash as a part of the close. Now they won't have to get financing. They can probably get a better price because they're paying with cash. So it's to provide them an opportunity to sell the property, buy a property, move in, not have any financing issues, and then get a final check at the end. So
Okay, so in October, they get paid $64,000 and we're done with them.
Yep.
Thank you. Ew.
So there's two resolutions on the agenda covering these two properties. So.
Right.
But that's the one that is occupied. The other one is not occupied.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And all the values were established on appraisal. So.
Hate those surprises.
What we do.
Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25384, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Resolution number 25385, approving purchase agreement with James E. Kleeman and Janice A. Asgard regarding the property located at 3493 Winslow Road, Marion, Iowa, in the amount of $117,000, and providing payment number 1 in the amount of $74,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25385, approving the purchase agreement with James E. Kleeman and Janice A. Asgard for 3493 Winslow Road. Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 25386, directing publication of notice of hearing on proposed sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street, Anderson Automotive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25386, directing the publication of notice of hearing on the proposed sale of property at 3rd Avenue and 44th Street, Anderson Automotive. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 25386, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 25387, approving interim occupancy agreement, Anderson Automotive.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25387, approving the interim occupancy agreement with Anderson Automotive. Discussion?
Are they moving in? I mean, they haven't built a building or anything, surely.
Yeah, so this early interim occupancy agreement was put on the agenda because the public hearing was actually set at the last meeting, the one that you just approved, but there was a mistake on the publication, so that's why it had to be put on the agenda again. So this is just an interim occupancy agreement until the public hearing can happen at the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Where it was supposed to happen.
All right.
For him to start building, correct? So we
What?
can start construction.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25387, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I make motion to approve resolution number 25388, directing publication of notice of hearing on proposed sale of a portion of public property located near 3rd Avenue and 44th Street.
Okay.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25388, directing the publication of notice of hearing on the proposed sale of property at 3rd Avenue and 44th Street, KTRO. Discussion?
What, please, is KTRO?
It's an entity. Is that right? That's the buyer?
That's the buyer, yep.
Yeah, and this is the parcel over, so this is one of the parcels from the original Fiber-8 parcel, the parcel over from the Anderson Automotive.
So it's just another party that is buying the property
Correct.
for development?
Yes.
And I think we heard about what they plan to put there, right?
Contractor condos?
Yeah, that's right.
What?
Contractor condos.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
no, I don't.
Would you have questions on it? Or?
Well, I guess I'll go back, but I don't recall having read this in any of my work stuff.
Anybody else have discussion or questions?
Okay.
Okay. Are you
I'm fine.
okay to vote? Okay.
I'm fine.
All those in favor of resolution number 25388 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, Resolution 25,389, approving a conditional purchase offer to KTRO LLC for land located north of 3rd Avenue and west of 44th Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25389, approving a conditional purchase offer for KTRO LLC for land located north of 3rd Avenue and west of 44th Street. Discussion.
You got it? Oh.
Get it? Everybody got one, right? It's up here tonight. This is the purchase contract, correct?
Yeah.
And that's a good price on that.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
None? All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 25389 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to receive and file correspondence requesting to change the city code regarding voting. This comes from Kathy Green, 1942 Galway Drive.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file correspondence requesting to change the city code regarding voting. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Your Honor, is it,
Motion
would it be proper to request that this be examined by whomever has to examine it, like the legal officer perhaps, and get this going as soon as possible?
I think that they already are, so.
They already
yeah.
are?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve these mayoral reappointments. The first is Susan Kling for Library Board, term expiring 6/30 of 2022, and Sandy Rosenberger for the Library Board, her term expiring 6/30 of 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint Susan Kling and Sandy Rosenberger to the Library Board. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
And in addition, I make a motion to approve these mayoral appointments. Removal of Queen, boy, you're gonna have to help me. Helga for the Civil Rights Commission, and Shirley Pantini, also of the Civil Rights Commission, whose term would expire 31st of December of this year.
Second.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded to approve the removal of Queen Gitaiga from the Civil Rights Commission and appoint Shirley Pantini to the Civil Rights Commission. Discussion? That the removal came on the recommendation of the Civil Rights Commission, and then the appointment, we had two applicants, and we met with both of them. The chair of the commission and myself met with both of them, and he recommended Shirley Pantini. So
Very smart lady.
yes. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to remove Queen Gitaiga and appoint Shirley Pantini, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Comments?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, the property on 15th Street and 5th Avenue that the city acquired, now I don't know if it is still today, but it has needed mowing badly.
It still does today. I left a message for Mike actually this week.
Okay.
Is he on vacation maybe? Mike's on vacation, so he didn't get my message.
And I would like to note that Joe Spinks and I will be at the library on Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11:30 to accept any criticisms, etc.
Compliments?
Yeah, compliments, yes. And I do have
Positive.
one small thing to end with a little bit of humor today. And God promised men that good and obedient wives would be found in all corners of the world. And then he made the earth round and laughed and laughed and laughed.
Kim?
I believe this is the chief's last meeting that he will be presiding over as a police chief or as the filling in for Lon. So again, we've thanked him for his service, but thank you again for your many years of service to the city. And so this is a farewell for you tonight.
We need Paul to have a long one. Talk a lot, so keep him here late. Nice long one.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Just a reminder that Saturday is the first Uptown Market, Farmers Market in the square, if anybody wants to attend that. It's 8 to noon, I believe. Oh, it's fun.
I just want to mention a couple of weeks ago, Councilman Will and I attended Marion High School and got to talk to some seniors and juniors from the high school about city council, city government. We had a great time with that. Got to speak to the teachers on that. They thought it was very successful. Taking a look at maybe changing the curriculum a little bit next year and moving it to the front. We literally were the two people standing between them and the door between
For
graduating
seniors, yeah.
for seniors. So you can imagine what the attention span was like that hot afternoon in the school. So my extension to the high school, thanks for having us out there. We had a great time. Always love to get into the schools and work with the kids directly. So thanks, and thanks for everybody coming tonight.
I said last week I was going to reserve my time because I wasn't feeling well. We don't have a lot of forums. We're asked a lot of questions and get a lot of phone calls. So this is one to use. And this, what I'm going to say is in reply to Jack, Mike, William, and my old friend Hal, who all of them have emailed me about something I want to talk about. Hal doesn't. He always starts out, Draper, you dumb shit, so I never pay much attention to those. But these other people, I have no idea who they are. I've had 3 phone calls concerning my health. And I'd just like to bring everybody up to date a little bit. Yes, I had a heart attack in February. Yes, I got a stent put in. Yes, I was getting a lot better, and then I had a wire go bad in the pacemaker. And yes, they put in now a defibrillator and a pacemaker. But to as far as Jack, Mike, Bill, and Hal, I would present to them that I have a better heart than they do. My interests in the city of Marion, my interests in life are, number one, my family, my church, and the city of Marion. I have no other responsibilities. I try to address myself well in that area, and I plan to sit in this seat as long as I can. And I want Jack, Mike, William, Hal, and the 3 phone call folks to know that. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here, Paul. Yeah, I have a few things. On the issue of the market this weekend, I know that they need volunteers. So if anybody wants an opportunity to volunteer, this is a great one. You can contact, I think, either the chamber office or the Uptown organization. And the Marion High School, the Marion Home School Program, I don't know if people know, won the national title in the mock trial competition. That's an amazing thing. I think they were 6th last year, and they won it this year. So we should extend our congratulations to them. That's a wonderful thing. Yesterday, we had the High Five Marion program out at the airport, which is put on by the Chamber, Metco, and Uptown. And it's an event that just celebrates all the good things that are happening around us. And it was really well attended. And in the process, they raised $1,400 for the Churches of Marion Food Pantry, which is really awesome. If you get a chance to attend next year, everyone should. One of the speakers at the program was the chairman or president of Hills Bank. And Hills Bank, as many of you might know, is building another facility besides their downtown branch here, another facility where the Goodwill store was. And that is going to be a big center for them. I think 22 or 30 something, a significant number of people stationed there, providing a wide variety of services. And, it just shows their confidence in Marion. It shows their confidence in the potential of Marion. And one thing that he noted that I thought was really interesting was the way he started his comments was, he said, why would you not want to be part of a community like this? And he noted specifically our branding. And he recited the brand promise. He recited everything that we had adopted in our branding process. And he said, when a community has these kinds of goals, why would you not want to be part of it? So I just wanted to point that out, that people do notice these things, and it does pay off. And just wanted to note something that I said in my comments there was, I do get to talk to a lot of people in the entire corridor, and I hear over and over again, you people in Marion have your act together. You have cohesion, you know where you're going. Great things are happening in Marion. I hear these things every day. People do notice. So let's keep on a positive track. Let's keep working together. We're going to have issues that try to divide us, but I've said over and over again, I don't like divisiveness. We can respectfully agree to disagree, but we can all be headed in the same direction as one team. And we have a lot more to gain that way. So thank you all for your patience tonight. I know it was a long meeting, but we had a lot to cover. And we'll see you next time. Meeting is adjourned.